We'll go ahead and call Marshall County Fiscal Court to order. This is a special call meeting, December 4th, 2020. I've asked the 911 director and Sheila, Dave, to be here as well. If you guys remember back July 8th, when we were in executive session, we actually had the county attorney send a letter to AT&T about our phone services. They're our phone provider, emergency phone provider. It did help a little bit. They could fix on their end some of the issues, and you guys correct me where I'm wrong, but it's not going to fix our entire problem. Since then, I know of two citizens who have brought to my attention, and I'll give you their scenario. Gentleman's in the house, thinks he's having a heart attack. Wife calls 911, and it just rings. And it rings, and it rings. Now, when I say it rings, it's not like they are down there at 911 and they hear the phone ringing. That's not what's happening. The best way I can explain it, you're watching Netflix, or you're watching any program on your smart TV and you get the spinning wheel, all right? That's what's happening here. The problem is that AT&T can't tell our folks where their emergency call is going, and then our folks don't even know that there's an emergency call coming in the 911. The worst scenario is what's happening is the individual who thinks he's having a heart attack, they just hang the phone up, jump in the car, and they go to the hospital. So it really is a problem that needs to be fixed. AT&T, I'm not going to speak for them. Your letter did help a little bit. They took some actions on their end, but it didn't fix this problem. So that's why we're here today. If anybody's got any questions. Yeah.
Just a little bit there. It's a good analogy with Netflix, but what it is it's a bandwidth issue. You know, you're watching the movie, it buffers and it spins like the judge was saying. It's happening daily with our phone. You'll look over and it'll say disconnected from the host. So basically, we have computers hooked up to equipment in Madisonville and Pikeville. And we just drop connection to those unannounced. And it could be for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 2 minutes, who knows. And you get a little message at the bottom saying disconnected from host. So during that time, AT&T can't tell us for sure what happens to those calls. And apparently during that time, the phone rings on your end when you dial, but goes nowhere because of those two instances that he knows about. And we can't predict when that's going to happen or how that's going to fix it. And in talking with AT&T, it's a bandwidth issue. It's like trying to stream a movie without enough internet to carry that big file. Same thing here. So when you call right now, we're getting about a 15-second delay. So you can seriously dial the phone. You can stand right in front of the 911 console, dial the phone, and it takes 15 seconds for the phone to even ring inside there. So you're in your house, and you got an emergency going on. Your phone's ringing on your end for 15 seconds. That's a long time in an emergency. So there's always going to be some amount of delay because of the way the phone works. You call, it goes to a cell phone tower, then it goes to a selective router, it picks the 911 center, and it sends it. So there's always going to be some sort of delay, whether we have on-site equipment or we're host remoted. But our delay is greater because of the lack of bandwidth. So we need premise equipment that actually sits there, that doesn't have to travel back and forth. Does that make sense?
This problem is only on mobile, right? Doesn't it?
It doesn't matter. Any call that we get,
So
whether
landline
it's
too?
cell phone or landline, it goes to Madisonville or Pikeville and comes back on bandwidth.
What's a normal delay, Chris?
Should be anywhere between 5 and 10 seconds before that phone call starts ringing. Ours is doubling. It can be 15 to 20 seconds. Just like we've took our time and adjusted it and doubled it. And here's another thing. So like the national standard on the answering time, 90% of your calls within 15 seconds and 95 within 20. Our time's up before it rings. We can't hit the national standard to be answering our calls in time because most of our time is up before our phone ever rings.
So the second scenario, basically a gentleman sees a woman in distress, gets in a vehicle, follows them, and he's on the phone, ring, 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 and, from like Draftonville to Benton, he finally catches 911 or makes contact with 911.
Mhm.
Obviously, it was I think a domestic relationship, but that's, we're talking about what you guys are seeing in the 911 center, but hearing it from folks in the community, and that's only two people.
Yeah, that's two we know about.
And no one really, I guess, to find out that that was occurring, nobody knew. I mean, this
Well,
could be going on for.
what really shed light on it is that free program that we have, Rapid SOS, where we have access to a free program, and it takes information from the cell phone tower. So I know the minute or the second the phone hits the cell phone tower, I get a location, and we're sitting there waiting on the phone to ring.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some lag. That will always come in first, but it should be a lot quicker. We should know enough time to turn around and be ready to pick up the phone. We're turning around and watching the screen. All right, where is it? And sometimes they never come in. That's what alerted us. We get these pings on this map. Nothing ever comes in, so we're calling people back that have tried to call us. And Sheila, if you don't mind telling them how often that happens, you see it a lot more than I do. You're there today in that capacity.
I would say with Rapid SOS, that's going to be on cell phone, so we're not going to see that part on the landline. So that clears up your question a little bit from earlier. But I would say the vast majority of the time, almost every time, we never get it within 10 seconds. But I would definitely say at least 95% of the time, we're just sitting there looking at the screen saying, okay, we know we have a 911 call coming in. How much longer are we going to wait? And then after a few seconds, usually we just call the caller back and say, okay, we believe you tried to call 911. Do you have an emergency?
So today, what we're here for is to put out an RFP or an RFI for bids and talk about the options.
I had
that we have.
one more question.
Yeah.
On the scenario that Judge said, those two scenarios where it rings, do y'all get information on who that caller is to be able to call them back? I mean,
Not till we pick up. We do
you
from
can't even
that
tell
other
who it
system.
is.
If it's a cell phone
Right.
call, we get a phone number from that other system that we've got from the Rapid SOS. So we get a phone number, and we can call that back, and we have been doing that. But if it's a landline, it doesn't hit Rapid SOS. We have no idea that happened.
So putting out a bid for a new phone system is what we're here for today. Because with AT&T, I mean, we've tried, but AT&T is not, they can't, whether or not, I'm not going to speak for AT&T, fix that problem. We have sent additional correspondence in what they have done so far, but to no joy, it hasn't gotten us anywhere. And so I think that this is a big issue because when it was explained to me, my first question was, how long has this been going on? How many people in the community have called 911 and just, hung the phone up, whatever their situation is? And we don't know.
Yep, we don't know. We've had that phone since it was, I believe, 2016, mid-2016 is when we got it. And, and diving into this, it's a pretty complex problem by the time you look and see what's going on. And it was explained to us by the AT&T tech that it's just a lack of bandwidth, and there's really nothing that they can do about that.
But
Being on a
there-
host remote system that requires that.
But there are options out there that we need to look at.
Are we under any kind of contract with
No.
AT&T? Okay.
Yeah. There's a maintenance agreement, but that's it, and it's yearly.
Definitely needs to be fixed. I mean, it's a public safety issue.
Without mentioning any names, how many providers are out there, do you think?
Well, the way it works, back in 2015, I guess it was, the 911 Services Board at that time put it down to 2 phone providers. And it's not necessarily about the phone equipment. It's more about the network that it rides on. And you got pretty much 2, maybe 3 providers that can provide that, and then you got several what's called next generation core services companies that can provide that particular network. And at the time the phone was bought, the only network, the only provider, the only circuits that were here were AT&T. But, since 2016, there's been a lot more things happen, a lot of stuff move in this particular area. So there are other vendors now that can look at engineering that particular network, and depending on the particular network and the equipment and the circuits, it determines the phone. So 2 phones, 3 or 4, maybe 5 providers that can provide those next-gen core services to allow that phone system to operate. So it's actually like twofold, and very few of the vendors can do both parts. And we're looking for somebody that can do both parts and manage both parts. Does that make sense?
So that's why we actually tried that in my office this week, calling the dispatch center. I wanted to see how long it would take to call. So that's why I notified you guys, because I felt it was important that you knew what was going on. But also we need to look at putting out bids for, and maybe that will spark AT&T to get involved. I don't want to speak for them. I have my own opinions, but this is unacceptable. You can't be, what would you say as far as the national?
15 seconds, 90% of the time.
And if you don't
20,
meet, and if you don't meet
95.
if you don't meet that standard, then there's a classification that we don't have.
Well, no, it's not necessarily that. It's that standards exist, and if you're not meeting that standard, if you get in a lawsuit and you're not meeting that standard, then you're considered defective or deficient in that particular area in that lawsuit. So you're not hitting a mark that's set for you, so you're not public safety oriented. You're going to get hit over the head over not hitting that mark. It's not that you're going to lose money, you're going to get fined, you're going to get this, that, or the other, but in a lawsuit, if you're not concerned about those national standards and you're not providing that particular service, then that's just an area that they're going to show that you were liable in. But it does, and I back up, it does have an actual effect when it comes to fire departments and emergency services on their end for the cost. So the ISO rating for fire departments, things like that, are dependent upon that NFPA standard. It can lower insurance rates too to have that, meeting that standard. So homeowners insurance, things of that nature can come down based upon the ISO rating of the fire departments in the area. And part of that is dispatch times.
Okay. So basically what we're meeting today for is to take action to put out, allow 911 to put out bids for new phone system.
I move we allow the 911 director to put out bids for the new phone system.
Is there a second? Second it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Today is Friday, and I think 10, since they're in Paducah, the trib is, we got to get it to them by 10.
And you got it, right, Brad? You got what we wrote up?
I've
At
got-
least the paper ad?
I've got
And then you got the full?
I don't have the
spec.
full spec,
Okay.
so
Well, they can just, like you put in the ad,
all
you know,
correspondence
type of
will come to you, so if they have any questions, they'll get
Okay.
all the information from you. And then,
Is the trip, you guys gonna put it in the trip?
Yeah.
Is that gonna be enough publication to get everybody bidding on it?
we usually put it on our Facebook page, we'll share it to our Facebook page, and then it'll be on our website.
I just wanna make sure that all the
Yeah.
Yeah, you reaching out to the vendors?
aware of it.
We can put it out. Is there a way other than our regular publication to?
Generally, what happens, those big corporations have an algorithm built into a Google search, so they find us.
Yeah.
It just has to be published. I mean, those phone systems, they'll have a Google search sent out every so often a day, looking for specific keywords, and they'll find the RFPs. So it's just,
I get those emails.
it's amazing what crawls out of the woodwork just in a little, especially, when you're looking at something like that, so.
Usually the more people who are bidding, the better.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
better the competition, and also the better the product you can get in the end. So I totally agree. And if I see in the first couple of days we don't have anything, maybe we can see about running it a little bit longer or changing where we ran it. But anybody got any ideas to get it out there further? Because we're really kind of limited as to where we put it. I mean, we got the trib and we've got our Facebook things, but that's about it.
Can you just reach out to the, you said there was only a few, can you reach out to them?
Could, but it kind of treading an ethical slippery slope line. You contacted one, you forget to contact another, you show favoritism in that particular way. Some companies don't like it, some, I can, if that's what we want to do. If we don't see anything, I can start reaching out, but
Well, I think,
I'd
You could do
ask
Paducah
Jason
Sun
for
if you wanted
guidance
to.
on that.
yeah, we can do Paducah Sun in addition to the Trib. And remember too, if we don't get any bids, or if we get a bid from a provider that we find out is gonna put us right in the same boat, then we can
Reach out.
reach out to vendors.
I mean, what was your thought on reaching out, Jason?
Well, I mean, first one that came to mind besides Trib was Paducah Sun, just.
No, I mean, reaching out to vendors.
Oh, yeah, I'd rather just do the bid,
Yeah.
and especially if they've got that software where they can find us, and let's do that first before we start
Okay.
having one-on-one communication.
We've got it set for, to be delivered to our office, Monday, December 14th by noon. And then we'll have court on the next day, so then we can discuss the bids on the 15th. Yeah.
With the Sun, when do they run? Do we know?
You can't get it in the Sun before the next meeting?
They're a daily paper, ain't they?
Okay. Then we'll do the Sun for this bid. We'll do the Sun.
How many days do you have
Well-
to give them, though?
Sunday's probably their biggest paper day, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you, because they don't have one on Monday anymore.
Right.
So it would be, Tuesday's probably your first, I don't know if you could get it in Sunday. Yeah. So, I
What
mean,
about,
that-
what about
that
next
puts-
Sunday? I would think Sunday is their biggest day as far as circulation.
Yeah. If you're gonna do that, it needs to be the first meeting in January, wouldn't it?
Push the dates. Now, the procurement requirement as far as the bid is 7 days. So we put it in the Trib, we've met our statutory requirement for the 7 days. We just won't get it in the Sun.
And you
I
wouldn't
mean,
have
I
to do it on
wouldn't-
a Sunday. You could do it for Tuesday. Give them a week.
We can always, I mean, if we feel like it wasn't enough time, we can always.
Guess we'll know when the bids come in.
That we do vendor specific.
The day may not even matter if they've got those programs. I mean, I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, every bid I put out, all we've done is
They may
put it in
move-
the paper of record for the county, let it run the time, and then they just start trickling in.
maybe they might be more likely to hit it on the Sun than they would on the Tribune.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.